order the business meeting of the Carver Earth Removal Committee for December 20th at 7 o'clock, lower level in the Town Hall Meeting Room 4. We do have a quorum present. We are waiting on an additional member. I don't know if he is absent. Nobody's heard from him. So if Michael does come in, we'll just welcome him then. Area 58 will be recording this meeting on a request. Thank you very much. And anybody else? Can you state your name and address, please?
Yep, Jimmy Powell, 51 Landing Road, Kingston.
I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L.
And what was your address?
51 Landing Road in Kingston.
You don't have to give your address to record, just for the record.
Okay. I'm just looking for information is all. That's it.
I'm
You're
fine.
not really entitled to it, so maybe you can not ask for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Anybody else recording the meeting this evening?
Mary Dormer, 162 Plymouth Street.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the record, we've got two people other than Area 58 recording. Jimmy Powell and Mary Dormer are recording this meeting. And thank you for that, guys. There is an attendance sheet here as well. If everybody, before you leave tonight, can sign the attendance sheet for us, that would be spectacular.
Again, that's not required.
Okay. So we are, we'll start now, and I just want to welcome you all.
Was that just as optional though, right? I just want to make sure. Sign in the book.
The attendance sheet?
I'm just not clear on that, so I was just.
You don't have to.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Is it optional for them to sign the attendance sheet or not?
It's optional.
Okay, so there you go. So there's your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
I just wasn't sure.
Yep, neither am I. So there you go. That's why Mr. Corbo is here to help me out tonight.
Thank you.
Again, I just want to welcome everybody here. My name is Scott Hanula. I'm the newly minted, if you will, chairman of the Carver Earth Removal Committee. I am very new at this, as you can all tell, and I'll get beat down a little bit sometimes throughout the night here, which is absolutely fine. I am looking to do this well. That's really all I'm looking for. So first thing is, if you could silence your cell phones, just to make sure we don't have any of that annoyance through the meeting. The board members, just rules of order here, the board members will be recognized to speak first. Then if I choose to allow people to speak, I'll call on the audience. I'll also reserve the right to stop any discussion if it gets unruly at any time. What I really ask for, to be quite frank, is for everybody to be respectful of one another. This is a board of volunteers that are here to do the best thing for the town that we can. So if we can have good decorum, that'll make me quite pleased. If things do get out of hand, as they have in the past, I'll call a recess, we'll have a discussion, and ask people to leave if we need to. And if it gets that bad, I'll have Carol stop the meeting and call the police and have you escorted out. And I don't believe that should ever get to be that point, but I am going to reserve the right to do that. I am truly looking forward to hearing from all of you on any of these points of order when it's appropriate. As long as it's respectful, it's on point, and, you know, there are going to be some times that we all agree to disagree, I believe. And that's okay. Once I've recognized you to speak, not for the board, but for the audience, if you could say who you are, your name and address, that'd be great. And I'm going to limit any speaker's time limit to 2 minutes, just because we've got a full agenda and it's going to get right out of hand if we let it go all night. Okay? So, next thing on the list on the agenda is I'd like to welcome Bob Bentley and Roger Shores Jr. to the Carver Earth Removal Committee. I truly do thank you both for coming. Had it not been for those two gentlemen tonight, we would not have a quorum present right now. And it'd be a terrible waste of everybody's time. So I'm glad that these guys are here, and I'm sure that their insight along the way will provide us a lot of help. So I'm looking for a motion to change the vice chair from John Mason.
I'd like to make a motion, Bob Bentley.
So I have a motion to ask Bob Bentley to be the vice chair instead of John Mason. Do I have a second?
I would second
Any discussion from the board?
that. I think that Bob would make a good vice chair because he has experience with various committees and chairing and such. And so I think that would be a good, he'd do a good job to handle that.
Thank you. John, do you have any comments about why you'd like to not be the chair, or are you good?
No, I'm good, thank you.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much, Bob. Lucky you. Moving right along, which is kind of nice. We have a open seat on the board. This is per town bylaw. We have 7 open seats, 7 seats. We have 6 filled. I would encourage you to ask your family members, yourselves, whomever, to run for a position on the Carver Earth Removal Committee so we can fill the seat.
Can I ask a quick question?
Give me 1 minute, let me finish my discussion here, and I am gonna open it to the audience, so.
Because it has to do with like what you just said, though.
That's okay, just bear with me. So if anyone, you know, if you guys know anybody that's interested in wanting to serve, you're gonna need to submit a written statement saying why you'd like to serve. It needs to have your name, your address, and qualifications on that document. And if you could email it to us at earthremoval@carvermass.gov.
Earth removal at, yeah,
Carver,
.ma.gov.
.ma.gov?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if anybody does know anybody, we are looking. Once we get those submissions, they'll all be forwarded to the town administrator, I believe. And he will send it up to the Board of Selectmen for approval or denial. And then they'll send it back down to us with their nomination. It is a select board seat that is open.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're also gonna request, I'll have Carol ask whoever runs the Carver website to post it on the front page, just so there's more knowledge about that.
On the earth removal.
Yep, okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions about this particular topic?
Comment,
Yes, please?
we are probably the most controversial committee in the town. Which makes it fun for any members.
There you go. Anybody from the audience have anything to say
I
about
think
it?
that would mean that a lot of people care about a lot of.
So if you can do me a favor and raise your hand, we've got 2 other people that are acting appropriately, and I'll call on you
No.
as time goes.
Okay.
I believe you had a question?
My name's Patty Cooney, 5 Canterbury Path. So I've been trying to get on different committees.
Okay.
And come to find out like you said, it has to go through the select board. But for this one, can it just be any citizen, or do I have to be a part of a Cranberry affiliation and or trucking affiliation? Something that has to do with the industry, because that's what I've been told before, that I couldn't get onto it because I wasn't in the business, I wasn't a trucker, I wasn't in construction, I had, wasn't in that.
So that's a great question, and honestly, thank you. I don't know the answer to that, but if you were to submit your name and send it to us, we'll get it to the town administrator, and what happens at the select board is up to them. It's really not up to us to decide.
And Chair, it is written on the bylaws on the earth removal page. Like, there's the reason why she probably thought that at the time, there probably was
Okay.
someone in that seat. So they were saying like they still needed a truck driver, then they needed someone in the industry. There's like certain ways. And then this last seat is for the select board. I think it could be any citizen.
Bob, go ahead,
You
Bob.
can read it on the earth removal page, like
And
right
I
at the
should-
beginning.
I do point out that I was presented by the Board of Health, so I'm actually a Board of Health representative.
Which, when you read it, you'll see why.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
just as a point of clarification, So the ERC is a 7-member board. 3 members are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, 2 members from 3 nominees submitted by the Cape Cod Cranberries Association, 1 member from nominees submitted by the Carver Board of Health, and 1 member of the trucking industry nominated by the ERC. So it's my understanding that the seat that is empty is a select board seat, and there are no specific qualifications for that seat. That being said, if there are multiple statements of interest, then those statements will first be vetted by this board. They will make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, but then the Board of Selectmen will get the opportunity to decide who should be appointed to the position.
Ms. Dormer, you had your hand up last?
Yeah, so I had submitted an application a couple of months ago. So what happens to that application? Is it still active, or do I have to resubmit?
I would ask you to resubmit because it probably ended up in the abyss somewhere.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, lady in the purple, you had a question?
I know, I just was, you said, I apologize, it's Karen Lapham. I just, I said that, Dick had made a comment about, the controversy within our, and I said, to me, it just shows that people do care about what's going on in the community, that you do have that, so,
And I agree with that.
so thank you.
Absolutely.
But I'm sorry I spoke
And
up.
I-
No worries. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, so referring to the bylaw on this
Could
issue.
you tell me your name? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
my name is Meg Sheen from
Okay.
Community Land and Water Coalition. We have many members and we're a nonprofit group that helps to preserve, protect, and steward our land and water resources in
Okay.
southeastern Mass.
You have a question?
Yes, I do. It's so, with regard to the bylaw and the membership slots, could you identify of the members here, which one is from which sector? Selectmen, Cape Cod Cranberry Growers, Board of Health, trucking industry, who's who?
So I am the trucking representative.
Are you-
Roger?
Okay, trucking.
Yeah?
Yep, Roger Shores, and I am one of the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association
One of the two.
candidates.
I'm Bob Bentley, I'm representing the Board of Health.
John Mason, also the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association.
Dick Ward, Board of Selectmen appointment from way back.
And then the member who's not here?
Carol, do you know where Mike Harrison is? Is he a Board of Selectmen representative as well?
He's the longest.
He is the longest
Yeah.
standing
He's-
member.
He has he's not truck driver, cranberry grower, and none of that, so I would imagine it was,
He's-
I think select board has
Three,
three
they do.
nominees, so I think he's one of them, but he always says that when people are
So
talking.
there's
Okay.
3 select board members already in place.
There's 2 already here.
But this other gentleman that's not here,
There's only, well, he's
He's one
one,
of the two.
He's one of which one?
one, and then two.
We're short of Board of,
but I thought you said he's a board of health.
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
That's not board of
Wh-
select.
Right.
I'm the Board of Selectmen. And Mr.
Right, but it doesn't say anything about the board of health on here.
Yes, it-
It does.
It does.
One member from the Carver, nominee. from-
Yep.
Nominee,
Yep.
okay.
So I have another question.
Yes,
but,
ma'am?
You're also in the cranberry industry too?
I am, yes.
And so is Mr. Mason?
He is.
And so is Mr. Ward,
So
No,
is
I'm
Mr.
not,
Ward?
no.
Oh, you're not, but your son
but
is?
your son
My
is.
son.
Yeah, and anybody else in the cranberry industry?
I have 2 acres of cranberry bog and a sawmill in North Carver.
2,
I have an acre and a half of cranberries.
3.
Okay, so
4.
then the bylaw says, let's see. In no case shall more than 2 or more of the appointed members represent the same trade, profession, occupation, or business interest.
I'm gonna defer to town council on that. I know that it does say that. With the trucking industry having a representative, just so happens I'm also a grower. And with the 2 representatives from the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association.
So that's 3, 4, 5, so 4 out of the 5 who are present are all in the cranberry industry.
Correct.
So does that violate the bylaw?
Mr. Chair, for you?
Yes, please?
No, it does not. There's nothing in this bylaw that prohibits anybody who just happens to be associated with the cranberry industry from serving. The bylaw talks about representatives of the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association. With the exception of the appointees, no one else here is a representative of that association. No one else is associated, is formally associated with the trucking industry. And if you wish to dispute the composition of the board, you could do that through legal process. The board is the board, they don't appoint themselves, and there's nothing that they can do in response to your objection or inquiry. And so, Mr. Chair, I would recommend that you will move on, stop the conversation.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the questions. So again, if anybody wants to submit, we've just gone through how to do that. At our last meeting, we entertained a question about the Betty Mackey reporting, Carol. And we had told, I can't remember the woman's name.
Oh, yeah, she is here, Joe Beebling.
Yep,
Okay, I'm sorry, I
that's all
apologize.
right, that's all right,
I just did want to get you the answer to that.
okay.
So Carol,
Okay,
did you look into that for her,
Yeah,
please?
and it is on the third page. So I did look into it, and there was, in fact, the truck logs.
When were they submitted? Because according to the town clerk,
Yeah, the town clerk doesn't usually get them. That's why I was a little confused at
that
that.
she was checking into it for me.
Oh, okay. So they are here, and it was on November 2nd, the date that it, this is the fees that were passed in. November 2nd received, and it was stamped by the treasurer, tax collector on here. So if you do want a copy of it, you can just get a records request.
Yeah, I'd like the truck log so I can compare to my documents.
Yes. So like I said, I did look into it, and it was in
Okay,
fact there.
all right, thank you,
Come
okay.
on. Oh, you're welcome.
While I'm at it, I also have a question.
Go ahead.
So,
Does it relate to the
to the
truck
Mackey,
count?
to the Mackey,
Does it relate to the truck count and what we're talking about?
I do.
to the truck count.
Sorry.
Well, I have a question about the truck lot.
All right, I'll grant it. You got 2 minutes.
Well, the question is that these are quarterly reports and they were due at the end of the third quarter, which would have been September 30th, and you just said it was submitted on November 2nd, so that was late. Are there other truck logs that were late?
That's a very good question. We will look into that for the next meeting.
And what is the best way for a member of the public to obtain the truck logs as they come in on a quarterly basis, and to see whether the fees are paid?
When do they get found?
Mr. Corbo, can you field that question?
They have to submit a public records request.
So every quarter, we have to submit a public records request in order to see the truck logs and whether the fees were paid?
If you want to see them every quarter, then yes, you have to make a request every quarter.
And do you ever submit, ever fine anyone for missing truck logs or late truck logs?
Mr. Chair, that's not an appropriate question
Okay.
at this time.
Thank you very much. So thank you for your questions. Ms. Beetling had another question at our last meeting in regard to the email not
Oh,
going
yeah,
through.
there was a question about .org or .gov
Right.
and.
And Carol did reach out to you through that. Have you guys
Yeah,
conversed back and
yes,
forth? make sure it
yesterday
does
she
work?
did, yes.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, when did it switch from .org to .gov?
I think it's always been .gov, but I will be honest with you, sometimes I would think it was .org, like if I happen to say it to someone, but I think I think everything in the town has been like .gov, because it's part,
Can you
Government.
tell everybody what the email address is for us, Carol, now, if you would, please?
Sure. So it is earth removal at carverma.gov.
Okay.
It's all, just all lowercase, doesn't matter, earth removal
Okay, thank you.
at carverma.gov.
All right, we're moving on to minutes. Everybody has in their packet, I believe, the minutes to the November 29th. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of 11/29/2023. I don't know if you want to give any time to read.
No, we don't need to read them.
No, yep, okay.
So I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second Dick's motion.
Okay, Carol, you taking that down so we know who's, so we've got Mr. Ward and Mr. Mason with a first and a second. Any discussion on the minutes of November 29th, 2023?
I don't have any questions in the minutes, but having not been there.
It's okay.
That I can,
Yes, that, through you, Mr. Chair, that's fine, you don't have to have been present to vote to approve the minutes. This is a ministerial act of simply accepting the minutes as the record of the meeting.
thank you.
Excuse me, that's not true.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion from the board?
I don't have any.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, thank you, Carol. Now we're moving on to the minutes of August 30th, 2023. I'll entertain a motion.
Again, I'll move that we accept the minutes of, August 30th, 2023.
I will again second Dick's motion.
Any discussion on the minutes of August 30th, 2023? Minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
That was unanimous?
It was. At our last meeting, Mr. Ward had asked a question about having an inspector or agent of the Earth Removal Committee, and he asked if we could put it on the docket to discuss it at this meeting. I understand in the past that it's been floated that Kevin Ford, who is the part-time, I believe part-time, Mr. Corbo, health inspector for the town of Carver, his name had been floated around. I did call him prior to this meeting to see if that was even something he even wanted his name brought up at. He did suggest to me that it's something he would be willing to discuss with us. He is in fact had a conflict tonight. He said he was gonna come. Obviously, he had a conflict. He is willing to do the job. And what I'd like to do is have a little bit of board discussion about what you had asked for, Mr. Ward. And then we can continue that until, table?
So we can be there.
And that's exactly right.
Right, so the purpose of the discussion this evening, through you, Mr. Chair, is just to discuss generally the need for hiring an inspector. If you decide you want to hire an inspector, you'll have to go through the town administrator's office and have that approved by the town administrator and the board of selectmen. But once you decide, yes, we want to hire an inspector, then you can invite someone to apply for that position.
Okay.
Once you have someone in mind that you want to hire, then you would discuss that specific person at the meeting.
So, we need to discuss it. It doesn't have to go before the selectmen when we're considering somebody or talking about something?
Right, so, you don't have the authority to appoint someone,
Okay.
and my understanding is that, all appointments that are not specifically provided for go first through the town administrator with, an opportunity for the select board to veto. So, for example, if you decide, you want to, retain Mr. Ford as your, inspector to, act as this board's agent, that's gonna have to go through the town administrator. There are likely going to be compensation issues that have to be discussed. But so your role here is basically to decide, yes, we wanna have an inspector, and, this is who we think we wanna have at this point. But then the ultimate hiring of that inspector would be up to the town administrator.
Well,
Do you remember you talked, it was their idea, it was like boards last year, they brought it up to us.
yes, I do remember something vaguely.
Yes.
It was back in August.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Well, the whole thing comes down to, there's a need to be accurate on our analysis and visitation on the site to make sure that everything that are in our plans and have been discussed and regulations regarding that, and like, for example, the slopes, the angles, all that, that needs to be addressed in a pretty succinct way, I mean, properly. And it's hard for us because we're gonna go on a Saturday morning and visit 3 sites, a group of us, and there are certain parts of a visitation that I understand, but there are some that I don't have an idea. I mean, I can't estimate an area as to, okay, they took 300,000 yards of material from that. Whereas somebody who's been like yourself in the trucking business, that you have a better idea of that, but when you come down to it, we need to have an inspector who has an accurate way of deciding if those rules are being followed the way that we want them followed. And so I think it would be important to the community and to us that we have somebody who is geared to addressing these issues and making sure where the plans and such are all being followed correctly. So that's kind of the way I have come to feeling after many years of going out on inspections as a small group. I mean, 3 members of our committee or such like that.
I thank you for that, Dick, and I agree with you 100%. It's nice to have somebody that is actually minding the store full-time, if you will, and I don't believe it's a full-time position, it's more of a part-time deal. But if somebody is there all the time, looking at the things that we've had questions about tonight, the truck logs, the payments coming in, the site visits and such, and as you said earlier, Mr. Ward, that we have some pretty contentious type of issues here. And if we have a hired gun, if you will, that can look after this, I think it'll just be a little bit better at the end of the day to have somebody that we hire that does work for the
I
town,
mean,
that can help us out.
somewhere somebody mentioned the fact that no matter what we do, there's gonna be questions on trucking, questions on digging holes. These are all important issues, and people are gonna go one way or the other, and there's always gonna be somebody feeling that I want that issue addressed more properly. And so and when we get complaints,
Right.
then we've gotta go out and visit the plaints, or the chairperson has to do that. That's just a huge additional time responsibility for any one volunteer member. So I just would really like to press this issue.
John, anything?
Yeah, Scott, if I may, I think we've had a recent revolvement of chairs, and it seems as though, the chairs of this committee are getting burnt out. And I think it's totally appropriate to have some administrative help from the town, to help field some of the issues that happen in between our meetings. I don't wanna negate and get away from us going out and visiting the sites regularly, but would certainly support some administrative help from the town and take some of the pressure off of the chairperson, because it's more than what that of a volunteer should have to do, so.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley, you have something?
Yeah, I agree that it's been a huge burden on the chairs, the former chairs, in terms of the asks that they've been having in terms of going out to visit every site, to oversee every site. And I do think that it makes a huge amount of sense for us to have an engineer who actually has a huge amount of knowledge about the town of Carver. Not just somebody who is from Westboro, who doesn't know the town of Carver at all. I think having an engineer who actually knows something about Carver and what is going on in Carver makes a huge amount of sense.
Thank you. Mr. Shores, anything?
Yeah, I guess I'm new to this, so I understand the burden piece. The bigger piece of interest to me is that we can continue to collect some data and understand what's going on, whether there are issues in the community, or issues that run from anywhere, but I think we need to have a way to be continuing to collect data on everything that's going on here.
Good.
So I think it's important that somebody's a point person for that.
And I agree with all of your comments. One thing I would like to ask the group is how much time do we think that we're gonna use this person? My personal belief is that I'd like to see them at the meetings. I'd like to see them answer the emails of the citizens along the way with my help, with Carol's help as well. I'd like to see them deal with some of the complaints, to be quite frank. Just so it doesn't, in essence, burn me out, or we end up in the same boat that we've been in the past, where things get forgotten about, and I really don't want that to happen. So I think if we can talk a little bit about how much time we think this person may spend with us.
So I also think maybe that if we do have a site visit by committee members, that we have our person of inspection go with us and make, we need to be doing recording somewhat on those visits. To,
How many projects do we have going on that need to be managed?
roughly 12, isn't it?
Right now, it looks like by the long sheet, we've got 12 out there right now, with a question mark on one of them, that it may be closed or not, which we'll get to here.
How often do we normally visit them now?
Well, the problem is the committee hasn't been able to have a quorum in many, many months, as you can tell by the minutes of August 30th, and then a reorganization meeting at the end of November. So I'm new to this, so I'm gonna defer to Mr. Ward and maybe Carol, how often it's been happening in the past.
In the past, we've tried to visit all the sites in the spring for inspection of just our members. And then we have occasionally site visits to do spot checking, maybe in the fall or spring, but not the number of hours.
But you were doing it like monthly for a few,
Yeah,
because it was needed.
well, there are a few, yeah, those are the spot ones that I mean to.
But it could be every month if it was a problem or if there were questions with that.
But that's not all 12.
Right.
No.
And we're backed up now on this? or-
We are backed up right now.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So no matter what, short term, we're gonna need somebody's
With-
attention.
Mr. Bentley?
I've looked at other towns' bylaws and it seems common that there's a quarterly inspection that's performed on each site.
Sure.
And it would seem to me that would be what we would want anybody that was working for us as an agent to do.
I like that idea. All good discussion. You guys have anything else you wanna add to this particular discussion before I open it to the audience? Okay. Ms. Dormer?
So I think the RDA is having a similar issue with, getting a consultant.
Okay.
And from what I saw from watching the meetings is that, and I know you were at the meeting, Mr. Corbo, it has to be opened up to the public, correct? I mean, they can't just say, because Kevin is under the Board of Health. So would this position be under the Board of Health and just added to his duties, or is it a new position for him? In which case, wouldn't it have to be open to the public to apply?
That would all have to be discussed as part of where we're going, wouldn't it, Greg? I mean, we have nothing at this point, and we're just using that as an example. I mean, that, Mr. Ford might not be the one.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know at the last meeting for the RDA, Sabri Moore is saying that they had to, I forget, he used like, initials, but they had to put that up and then they had to have qualifications and stuff.
Well, this
I was
is
just
not
wondering
the
if this is-
RDA, obviously, and
No, I know.
this is gonna be
But they
something
were-
similar to a conservation agent, the health inspector, if you will, is how I'm visioning it.
So, through you, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. So, as I said before, this board does not have the authority to hire anyone. So, you know, what I expect is that my office will work with the office of the town administrator to create this position. And it may be that this position is created by amending the job description for the health agent. It does not necessarily by law have to be put out to an RFP type process. The RDA chose to do that, but they were not required by law to do that.
Ms. Sheehan, you had a comment?
Yes, I have 4 quick questions. Just wanted to ask a question. So bylaw 9.1.7B says the applicant, meaning anybody who applies for a permit, shall also be required to cover the cost of monitoring the project by an agent of the committee's choosing. Have you ever done that?
Carol, if you can help me out, I don't know the answer to that question.
I think they mean the engineer that they hire to do their,
Okay, I don't know the answer to that question.
I think, Dick, is that what?
We require all the plans and all of that to be by a certified engineer. And so beyond that, I don't think that we've required any additional costs to the applicant.
Yeah, it relates to monitoring, so it says monitoring. Okay, so you haven't done that. On those inspections, Mr. Ward, have you written any reports about the quarterly inspections you've been doing?
Yeah, so I'd like to keep it directly related to the hiring of a person,
Okay.
so
well,
not past tense stuff.
All right, so then in terms of hiring this person and what they're going to be doing, you said you had 12 projects. Can you name those projects?
They are of record, yep.
Oh, no, the
I'm not
public
gonna name them
records
tonight.
request? Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you want more information though, you said you're trying to get a handle, like Mr. Shore said, on what's going on out there. I just wanna make you aware that we have done a comprehensive report of all the sand and gravel mining sites in southeastern Mass. You can find it on our website,
Thank you.
www.sandwarsoutheasternma.org. And there's 110 sites and a large volume of sand and gravel mining, and 75% of it is the cranberry industry.
Thank you very
So
much.
that should be helpful.
All right, we'll,
I have a question.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
what,
Nancy
and I'm
Ryan.
sorry, can you state your name?
Yes, Nancy Ryan, 3 Presidents Way. Is Mr. Ford, is he an engineer? Because Mr. Bentley had referred,
Yes, he is.
yeah, he is an engineer.
He is the F in JF.
A what engineer?
He is the F in GF.
He was.
He,
Right.
he worked for an
That's Bill
engineering
Madden?
firm before he came to work for the town of Carver.
So that was the engineering firm that does all the sand and gravel mining permit applications.
And he's been working in the town of Carver since the 1970s.
So
Doing
to
sand
answer your
and
question
gravel.
directly, I believe that he is in fact an engineer.
He is.
Right behind you in the hat, I'm sorry?
Keith Beaton, 277 Meadow Street.
Thank you.
With the technology out there are firms that will fly over a drone at the beginning of a project. They can fly it over again later on in the project and tell you how much has been excavated.
So I'm trying to limit this to the discussion about us hiring and talking about that
That would
as an
take,
inspector.
that would take the place of somebody going out and estimating.
Sure, but it wouldn't be, a drone wouldn't do a very good job at record keeping for us.
No,
And
you'd have
answering
to,
complaints,
you'd have to
can
get the
record it.
information.
You can record it.
I'm sure. So thank you, I do appreciate that.
Was this,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Karen laughing
Yeah.
here. Was this Mr. Forbes, so is this job been, we're just talking about making this job,
Correct.
but we already have a potential person that we want to.
It was, the reason why I mentioned Kevin's
I'm
name
sorry,
is that it was brought up in the past.
in August, yeah,
It was before August, I believe, before I was
that's fine.
ever even brought on to
More than a
the,
year ago.
yeah, it's been a bit.
Okay,
So that's why, the board brought it up through the select board.
so is that a position that we're trying to determine if we just elect him into that position, or is it a position that we post throughout the town?
I think Mr. Corvo's answered that question already.
Well, we were on a different subject too, so I wasn't sure, so is this one we're posting on the for the town? Cause wasn't this lady asking about a different job?
That was the seat.
That was early on in the meeting, this is very different.
Okay, so that's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
That one they can post out.
That is for a public representative to be on the board of, appointed by the select board and the town administrator to be on the board.
Okay.
This would be a hired position for an inspector or an agent, correct?
Okay, but I'm not sure though if it's posted throughout, is it something that'll get posted on the town website?
We haven't gotten to
Okay. I'm getting confused, but I'm trying to follow along.
That's
Thank
okay.
you, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. The next topic of discussion, I have to recuse myself for.
So, Mr. Chair, before you move on.
Yep.
I suggest that, if the board is inclined to pursue this further,
Okay,
to make a motion
okay,
to, work with the town administrator's office to create the position of inspector or agent to the earth removal committee.
Yeah, I'd like to make that exact motion.
Second.
Alright, so what was the motion to, I'm sorry?
So a motion, to work with the town administrator's office to create the position of inspector or agent for the earth removal committee.
That's good wording.
That's what I'm gonna write down, thank you.
thank you, Carol.
Made by Roger, seconded by me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm having a tough time focusing and paying attention with some of the chit chat that's happening over
Okay.
here in the corner of the room.
As am I, so if you guys in the audience can keep it down, it'd be greatly appreciated. Just to have a little bit of decorum, trying to get through a very lengthy discussion here, so
Thank you.
appreciate all your help. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those, any opposed? Any abstentions? Carol, it's unanimous, thank you. And now I'll get up, and Mr. Bentley can take over for this portion.
This is specifically relating to a discussion of an email from Conservation Agent Gary Flaherty sent on December 12th regarding 0 Indian Street, map 92, lot 1. Gary Flaherty is the conservation agent. He said that the commission was made aware that there was excavation and trucking activity going on at the property. The commissioners and he himself went out to check the site on December 6th, and an excavator was seen loading a trailer dump truck, which drove off the property after being loaded. From his observations over the recent past, quite a bit of material has been removed from the property, so the commission wanted us to know of that activity. There are no present earth removal permits that have been granted on this property, and they're looking for guidance, they're looking to provide guidance to us as well as provide whether the Conservation Commission actually has jurisdiction or not. I looked it up on the assessor's maps, and the current owner is Agda Realty Loan Management LLC out of Halifax. I'm told that it's actually owned by the Hazios family, which is a relatively well-known family throughout southeastern Mass. Since we don't know very much about it, I would suggest to the committee that what we probably want to do is get in touch with the owner of the property and ask them to come to our next meeting and explain to us what it is that they're doing.
That sounds logical, but I'm bothered by the fact that it's happened.
Well, it could be agriculture related, and they just think that it's not exempt, so, that's why they're not talking to us or anything, but we all know that, transparency is better than opaqueness, so.
So will one of you, will you?
I will,
Okay.
yes.
This is
Because you don't have an agent.
yeah, this is a great example of where an agent
I can help
would,
email or like
kick
that,
in.
but
But, yeah, I would think contacting the owner first and foremost, get their explanation, see if there is, if it's agricultural exempt, if it's over the yardage that requires a permit, and then,
then you can invite them to the
take
next
the
meeting.
appropriate action. So,
So I don't know whether we need a motion on that or not.
I don't think so.
I can,
But we can enter it on our next agenda, depending on how you make it up.
Right.
You know? Okay.
yeah, if they can provide a full explanation that satisfies me, then I can come into the next meeting and explain it.
Yeah.
If I don't get a good enough explanation, then they can come and talk to the whole committee.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes.
I had a question about that, cause I live near that area, and I thought it was up for sale, and when they still had the for sale sign there, they were doing all the digging. So I too wondered what was going on.
we'll get answers.
Well,
This is on Indian Street.
yes, this is Indian Street.
If you look through the email packet, it's like the second page,
Third page.
third, and it will say from Gary Flaherty.
Yep.
And then it's the subject, will say exactly where it's located.
Thank you.
Right.
Sorry, it's just.
The meat of
so
it's
much.
at the bottom of the page.
Good, no,
Ms. Sheehan?
Sure, so I can provide some insight on this. I, am fully aware of it and brought it to the attention of the Conservation Commission. Are you going to allow the excavation to continue while you investigate? And how is the public supposed to know what your decision is about whether you think it's agricultural or not? And in our report, you can look up AGA and you can see all the strip mining that they have done on Tremont Street. So this company is going around and strip mining everywhere.
I think you'll be able to find, our results when we discuss it at the next meeting.
So they're allowed to keep digging while you
I'll
mod
be
over.
attempting to get in touch with them relatively soon and find out what they're doing, and if they can't explain themselves well enough, then, I'll request that they put a hold on whatever they're doing.
And why did the chair
Whether,
recuse
whether I
himself?
have, whether I have the ability to actually tell them to stop, I don't believe I do, but I can make a strong request to them.
And so just one more question, why did the chair recuse himself?
He's in a
Bob,
bar.
don't answer that.
And he's supposed to leave the room, when
No,
you
he's
have a
not.
conflict, you're required to leave the room.
Okay, no, he's not.
He's in a butter and he's not insinuating himself into any of this, so never mind.
Do you wanna turn it back over to the chair?
So I think we're good.
Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate the help. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the application of E.J. Pontiff Cranberries Incorporated with a project located at 104 Tremont Street in Carver, Assessors Map 123, Lot 13-0.
I will, make a motion to,
Thank you very
start
much.
the, open meeting at 7:51 PM.
Do I have a second?
Who motioned that?
I did.
I thought so, sorry.
I'll second that.
What time is it?
7:51.
And Roger seconded.
Second.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Any discussion about opening the meeting? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Any opposed? Abstentions? Gentlemen, it's up to you. Hold on.
You wanna waive the ground rules.
Okay, so yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Corvo, and I do thank you for that. This board just welcomed two brand-new members. What my intention to do tonight is to listen to the discussion from Mr. Pontiff and his folks. And at that point, I'm gonna allow the board to ask questions of the applicant, but I am not going to allow any public discussion whatsoever. We have yet to see this. This is our first time, and to be honest and fair to all of our members, it's our point to just wait till the next meeting after we've had time to digest this. And I'm gonna suggest we go have a site visit and then follow up at the next meeting in relation to this permit application.
That's good.
Thank you very much for helping me there.
Good. So you're keeping the hearing open, is that what you're saying? This
I'm
is a
gonna
public
ask,
hearing.
I'm gonna ask the applicant to start, and we can go from there. I'm
No.
not gonna accept any comments or questions from the
Mr.
audience.
Corbo, is this a public hearing and you're keeping the public hearing open until the next meeting when you'll vote? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chair, is this a question to me?
Apparently,
She said Mr. Corbett.
Okay, and are you recording?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't announce at the beginning of the meeting that you were
Okay,
recording.
I'll turn it off. So, I just wanna clarify, you are opening a public hearing, and you're gonna you're not allowing any public comment tonight, but you're gonna continue the public hearing for another session and allow public comment then, is that what you're saying?
Well, I am not.
that is
opening
what
any-
I am saying, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for waiting. I do appreciate your patience.
Sure. Should I go over there, over here?
You can be wherever you're comfortable.
Whatever works.
I'll go over here somewhere. Make sure.
And do me the favor, just introduce yourselves for the record.
Absolutely, yeah. Want to show my best side of the cameras. Quite a few here. Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. My name's Rob D'Ambroso Law in Plymouth. I'm an attorney, and Eric Pontiff and his associated concerns are longtime clients. I've got with me Kevin Flaherty from the civil engineering firm of Flaherty and Stefani. Before you tonight, I'll be representing Eric B.J. Pontiff Cranberries, Inc. Eric, some of you in this room may know, he's a third-generation cranberry grower. The project in question, which Kevin can walk you through the details, but I'll give a brief overview and then turn it over to him. This is a proposal for 5 new cranberry bogs on approximately 17.8 acres in area, and that's a small portion of what's a much larger 949-acre site, formerly known as the Federal Furnace Cranberry Company, with which I trust you folks are familiar. That land already has 240 acres of working bogs on it. It's been in continuous agricultural production since the late 1800s, and again, this is a incremental improvement and increase in the agricultural operation here. Because the bogs entail earth removal, we have to appear before you, as you all know, just kind of setting the stage. I thought that I would touch on a few elements that were either arose during the conservation process, which has been robust. There were 2 conservation commission site visits. There's been a subsequent DEP site visit, 2 conservation hearings, and of course we were permitted. I've also got a no-take letter from NHESP, so we've been through quite a bit of permitting already, and here we are before you tonight. So a couple of things, and Kevin can get into it, can probably do a better job than I could, but this project was constructed to make use to the extent available of the existing topography and infrastructure that is here, both in terms of water flow to be maximally efficient and use as little water or recycle as much water as possible. It was established this way. It was established adjacent to existing bogs to avoid disturbing any more area than we have to, and also to have sort of the economies of scale, if you will, of having production near existing production for harvesting purposes, being able to reutilize water, move the tailwater, etc. These bogs are going to be all kind of best-in-class bogs. They're going to use best management practices. They're going to be the high-yielding variety. So again, the UMass best management practices, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, talk about a confining layer that contains any leaching. You know, the goal of the modern bog is to prevent nutrient, any chemicals used in production from escaping. You want to be as maximally efficient as you can and prevent stuff from leaching through. So there's really an organic layer that's confining or less permeable, designed to really retain water and production materials in these bogs. And that happens to have the benefit of also, preventing any leaching or minimalizing any leaching out of the bogs. Again, and we're also not within the Aquifer Protection District. This, of course, I think it goes without saying, agriculture is a green use. It's carbon positive. We're able to provide some continued habitat in many ways. We're minimizing the disturbed area with the location of these bogs. We did do a land use alternative analysis. These are all upland bogs. So we've got quite a bit of upland here. You know, we could have built cluster homes with maybe 200 units, you know, shared septic systems, impervious roads, driveways, associated utilities. Could have been potentially rezoned for industrial use. You know, would have entailed a lot of paving, very different profile. You know, again, Eric's a third generation grower. This land is gonna be agricultural for many generations to come. And we think we've got a sound use that's very consistent with both Eric's pedigree and the use of the site for 100+ years. Again, you know, the new bogs are being constructed not only with the best management practices, but in terms of construction, but also with the type of vine. So these would be the new high yielding varietals. And again, I'm not a farmer, but I'm told they're Mullica queen vines. They have a yield that's about 4 times the yield of the native varieties with similar input costs. Again, this allows us to compete with other growers in Wisconsin, Nova Scotia, etc. It's a competitive marketplace, and you've got to have good high yielding bogs to be able to compete and have an efficient operation here. Again, there's been similar projects done on this site and other sites in the recent past, and they've improved yields. I think it's a well-trodden path. You know, and I think it's also worth pointing out, you know, there's the remarks during the public hearing at the Conservation Commission about the economics of earth removal versus cranberry growing. I think for the record, it's worth noting that the cranberry production revenue on the site is going to far outstrip any earth removal revenue. Not only that, but that's a continuous, recurring, really indefinitely continuing use. You know, earth removal, to the extent that any of it goes off site, you know, that's one shot and done. These are going to produce berries hopefully for 100+ years. Again, I think that's really what I have to set the stage here. You know, I'll let Kevin kind of walk through some of the details in terms of how it's going to be constructed, how traffic's going to move, etc. But I'm more than happy to answer questions, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kevin Flaherty from Flaherty Stefani. So Eric approached us back in the spring to discuss kind of how to get additional bog area for this property. So this is really the area that we were focused on. This is all upland area through this area right here. So basically all the infrastructure and all the trenches and the flow goes from this area down to this tailwater recovery area, down this way right here. So as everything kind of flows down this way. So what we did was we set all the new bog elevations at, you know, plus or minus, plus a little bit from the ones adjacent to it this way, so we could all have kind of that continuous flow that goes all the way down. So Eric's phasing is going to work this way. So his first bog, which is down this way here, and this is Tremont Street out here for everybody who's looking at it, is going to be the first phase where we'll go out as a surveying company, flag it. Eric will clear that, just that one phase, and then progressively work his way down this way. He's got approvals from conservation, like Rob mentioned, and kind of really, he's going to systematically go through it and do it this way. Rob mentioned that we received a no-take from Natural Heritage. It's really just a small portion of this area up here. What they said is when we get to that phase, Eric's going to be putting turtle fence during the spring season just to prevent any sort of, you know, turtle migration through that section there. I think the other aspect that has changed, we're using the existing kind of gravel traveled ways through the bog system right now, but what we will be doing is we will be doing a new kind of paved construction access out here. There should be a detail sheet 5, where we're going to be doing a 50-foot wide, 50-foot deep kind of paved apron with another 50 feet of crushed stone behind it. We kind of picked this location with talking with Eric with site distance, which we have greater than 300 feet in each direction. And it's kind of already a gravel entrance now, but he's going to improve it to the point where it's going to be more suitable for all his construction activities for the bogs. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric if he's got any questions.
Just paving the first portion.
Just paving the first 50 feet, and then there's another 50 feet of crushed stone behind that.
So I mean, I think they touched on a lot of the important points. We're open to any questions that you might have, but I think it's important to note that, you know, cranberries are the primary use of this site. It could have many other alternatives from a development standpoint. It's a 949-acre site with 240 acres of bog. So, you know, historically known, if you look at the town seal for the town of Carver, the federal furnace is at the center of it. So this site had excavations of iron ore to, you know, create cannonballs for the 4 and 12, and then subsequently excavations that required that were required for the construction of the bogs. So all of this activity is historic in nature, and there's been other duly permitted projects on this site that have occurred, are all in production, and are what make it a successful cranberry farm today. So in order for us to compete with Wisconsin and Canada, as Rob had mentioned, we need to be able to improve the property with high yielding varieties. And, you know, this project speaks to that. We have rectangular bogs, and, you know, they're gonna be laser leveled with, you know, minimal water use. So, you know, we look for your help in approving this and continuing the sustainable green use of cranberry bogs on the site.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Any members of the board have any topics of discussion for the three gentlemen that are in front of us tonight? Any questions?
Well, I just, I have concerns about it, but I think it would be better to ask the questions when we get out on the site and I can see how the water moves and so on. I don't think at this point I can go dup, 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 because I look at the pond up above and everything is gonna be gravity flowed down through, right? Okay, so, and observing this in a site visit would be.
Any other questions for the group?
Is there gonna be another, are you gonna need any other water holes, or is this,
So
gonna be able to use the existing water to?
the existing water is adequate on site. We already have the DE pre-approval for the Water Use Management Act. So we have the, I think we have in excess of 35 acres we could additionally do on top of the 240. And this is 17 of that 35. So the water withdrawal point is adequate and it's already permitted.
Nice. How many phases do you guys envision this in?
We have 4 phases.
Yeah, I think we got 4, I think,
Okay.
bog 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5.
Smaller
are
bogs
the
down
fourth
that way.
phase.
Okay.
Just kind of combined into one phase.
Yeah, that phase 4 is the last 2.
Okay, thank you. Again, we're all just seeing this for the very first time, and because of the new members, I wanted to make sure that all of us saw the plans at the same time, so we all are seeing it with the same colored glasses, if you will. Total volume to be removed if this was to go forward, the way it sits?
This should be in the notes, I believe it's 1 point, yeah.
It's 1.533706.
Okay.
Yeah, 153.
It's on all the pages in the notes section.
Thank you very much. Again, I haven't.
No, that's,
I haven't-
I just, in case you're flipping through, it's there on
So
everyone.
1 point what? 1.5.
So, any other questions for the gentleman in front of us this evening? Okay. What I think I'd like to do, per Mr. Ward's topic here, is to schedule a site visit for the board and Mr. Pontiff and his representatives out there only. Carol, do we have, obviously it's a holiday season where everybody in the world is a little crazy for the next couple of weeks.
I know you guys usually go on Saturday mornings around 8, but I mean, that's up to you guys, I guess, how soon you want them to go.
Well,
This Saturday would be the,
it won't be before the first of the year, I would suggest.
I was thinking New Year's, right after New Year's, okay, the Saturday after New Year's.
You wanna say January 6th
That would be,
at 8 AM? Can everybody make it then? Okay. Does that work for you, gentlemen?
I think that will work better.
Okay.
January.
It does work for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
What's the,
So, what I would suggest is we'd have a site visit starting at 8 AM on Saturday morning, the 6th of January in the new year 2024, for the board to walk the site with the representatives of E.J. Pontiff Cranberries. Can I get a motion? Do I need a motion for that? Okay. The one thing I do need a motion for, I believe, is to continue.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to continue this hearing
move that we
until
continue.
our next scheduled meeting, which hasn't been set yet?
All right, well, you're gonna need to set it down.
We're gonna need to set the,
Yes, we
set
need to set
the,
a date, time.
okay.
So, next regular meeting would be the last Wednesday in January?
Yeah, so I am booked up before that, so I've been looking at the calendar, January 31st, 7 o'clock is when my first availability is, which happens to fall on the last Wednesday of the month of January.
Are you making, is someone making a motion to continue?
We have
We're,
to set
we're,
a date.
we're gonna set it, we're setting a date for the next meeting right now, so we can have that date, so we can continue to that date.
So, January 31st, 2024.
Correct.
2024, oh boy.
Ever think you'd see it?
No.
Carol, you had something?
Just so you know, I think we might have missed one item on the agenda.
Okay.
So after you're done with Pontiff, then we can go back to that. I just wanted to remind you.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's an important one.
Alright, so the next meeting, we're talking about the 31st.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Carver Earth Removal Committee to continue the public hearing on will be the 31st of January, 7 o'clock,
Okay.
here in this room.
And on the sixth, where do we meet?
We're gonna meet at, I would imagine, out at the Federal Furnace Cranberry site at 8 o'clock. I would suggest we meet out at right at the entrance to the property.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right at the main entrance
The
where
gate.
it's stone pillars.
The gate, yep.
Yep.
Okay, I make a
Fish and
motion
rod.
that we continue this hearing until January 31st, 2024 at 7 p.m.
In this room. In this
In
room.
this room, yes.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who's
Mr.
second,
Bentley,
I'm sorry?
Mr. Bentley? All those in favor of the 31st, 7 o'clock, meeting room 4, lower level at the town hall, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. And then we'll have the site walk on the 6th. And the now I'll take a motion to continue, well, we've just got that to continue. Okay, so we're done with that.
Yep.
Carol, I'm sorry, I missed something on the agenda you said?
Before that, did you wanna, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else in, if anyone wanted to have any questions or anything
Nope.
before the next meeting? Okay.
Can I just request
But
there's
the
a set of plans for our site visit available?
Yeah, I'll bring a couple sets,
Awesome.
just so everyone.
Thank you,
You can
thank you.
use these ones.
It's a lot to digest here.
You can use these ones as well.
So you're right, Carol, I did miss a biggie.
Can't bring it home.
Bring your mittens.
Yes, the one that's bolded, the.
Yep, got it. So we received a request from the, what's that?
You can't study it.
So I received a request through the town administrator's office of funding $150,000 out of the earth removal. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Out of the earth removal fund for the repair of Ward Street. It's not gonna cover the whole job. Ward Street, as most of you know, has been closed due to an old culvert, I believe, that has failed. They're detouring around. The Carver Operations and Maintenance had asked for some funding.
Is this normal?
So this is where I'm gonna defer to Carol and Mr. Ward.
I'm just curious.
So Roger, it's very normal because every year at the annual town meeting, it is voted in and it always has been. Whatever monies that are collected through the truck, fees, it gets dispersed through for the own town's roads and repairment.
For
That's what-
roads and repairs, that's
Always.
what it's slotted for.
Yes,
Okay.
and so they always usually will
And
pass.
how much money do we have in there now?
That's the
But first
question.
of all, is this a town road? And is that private property? Private?
Who owns the bond below?
My understanding, it's the town's responsibility.
It is
for the
my
maintenance
understanding
of
is-
the road.
Right.
Right.
And it's gonna fall on the town, so I don't think they'd be requesting the monies from us if
Yeah,
this
no,
was a
so-
private,
yeah, right.
piece
I
of
guess
property.
you're right.
And it is in the email, I think, if you guys wanted to look for people that haven't seen, there's a packet of emails, so we're gonna. And
I believe you. I believe you.
the first 800 fees, I believe the total project is 205.
You guys keep it down out there for us, please, if you would.
Somewhere in here. Maybe it's not.
But I have the same thing now.
So that is the, Chair, do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
So, They were using SoftWrite, the whole town was using SoftWrite, it's the software company that they use for, and the school is still using it, but I wanna say in August, they switched over to a new, so the balances, the board can tell you, you can't always see exactly what's in there. But the town administrator, when he had emailed, the board, had said that it looked like there was $160,000 in the account, and they were asking for $150. I went to, Laura, who's the assistant town accountant, and she's one of three that are the acting finance director right now. So she tried to pull up information. So what I got is the copies that you guys see, and it looks like, to me, that there's 147,561,43.
147,
Yes.
and they're
But-
asking for 150?
Yes, but they seem to think there's 157. She showed me a stack from August of receipts and things that have not been filed yet. So it's just, like I said, they switched over, and they're still in the process. I mean, it's kind of,
My kids and give them 25 and call it a day.
Well, that's
Yeah,
not really
wh-
a funny
wh-
statement to say,
So
so.
I went onto the website and, was looking at some admittedly old data from April. But the old data from April suggested we had $210,000.
Okay.
thank you.
Well, what I'd like to do first of all is find out how much money
So if
we
you wanna
have.
look in the paper that I gave to all three of you, I mean,
Oh,
all of the board.
You're talking about the launch sheet, Carol?
No, I'm actually talking about, it's stapled together,
The ledgers each other.
and it's accounts. So there was 3 pages, I believe. The first page, I wrote on it, do you guys see what I'm talking about?
The one
Yes,
that had
John
maybe
Mason.
on it a couple times?
Yes,
Yeah.
so originally, as of August, she went into the SoftWrite, because she still has access to it.
Okay.
So she went into SoftWrite, and they were supposed to be switching over to the new program. So as of August, there was 237,000 in the account. On
We
one of the-
haven't spent any of that money, we haven't appropriated any of that money after
We
the
have, so
237.
you can actually see where it's been spent. It adds up to about 106, almost 107,000, the totals. So what we did, and then we had 17,000 that came in, which is again written on here, that came in through, earth removal fees that come through. So she did the math, and on the last page, she actually
Got it.
physically printed it out. That's what she came up with, 147. But this doesn't mean it's a complete accurate. I said I was gonna follow up with her tomorrow, because she will be away until January 2nd. But I said that there's no way you guys are gonna vote on getting any money if you didn't have any clue of what was in the account.
Yeah.
So that's why I basically said you have to give me something for tonight.
Alright, well, we don't know what we have for money in the account. They're asking for more than what we think we have in the account.
And will we be responsible for the funding portion of our inspector?
Yes.
How does the
Absolutely.
finance
We
work?
are gonna be responsible for that.
Then we should save some money for it.
I would agree.
With our increased administrative costs,
And for me too.
frivolous lawsuits,
Are you
or
one of-
whatever else comes down the line.
Do you
I
come
think
out of
it's-
us?
Absolutely.
She does.
I think it would be
Yeah.
appropriate to leave more of a buffer than what, it's speculative until we know what we have. So
That's exactly
I'd
right.
like to make a motion to continue this item, until we can get clarification, hopefully at the next meeting, on what the available funds are.
I second that, John.
Okay, so I have a
know
motion
it's
and a
more of an
second
emergency, but.
to make sure,
They can find
to
Yeah.
find out exactly what is in the account
So
before
is
we
this a
decide.
motion to table?
It's a motion to
motion.
continue. Table?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
To continue the discussion.
Till the 31st, January 31st.
Correct. So at that point, I would hope, regardless of which software we're using, we would know how much money we have.
Yeah.
This is pathetic. So
I-
kind of ongoing, it's so sad.
It is
It's been like
sad.
this for a long time though.
I know, I listen to you guys, it's so sad.
Yeah,
They get their tax bill right every year.
I will promise you this will get better.
You need a treasurer
That's amazing.
on your committee.
So it seems. So I have a motion and a second to continue,
Who seconded that in here?
Roger did,
I did.
until the 31st, until we can find out exactly how much we have in the bank. Any further discussion?
If this is an emergency, do we have the ability to do an email type vote on something of this? Or it needs to be public?
It has to be a public.
Right.
Is there any other means of getting it done sooner if it's?
Well, if it's an emergency
of the town?
Yes,
I
if
mean,
it's
if
an
the roads
emergency
collapse.
of the town, then the select board has the authority to tap into any available funds to
So then it's
rectify
on-
the emergency.
And that's where the email
And
came
they,
from.
and they go to they get the approval of the Department of Revenue, to emergency spend.
Okay.
Well, if they have that authority, they have not done that yet, they requested what we've got. It seems to me we've got at least a little time, so we know exactly what we have, and to John's point, we will have a buffer to pay our staff. Because the last thing we want is to be running in the wrong color.
I would suggest that you, Mr. Chair, maybe talk to the town administrator about this.
I will absolutely do that very thing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous, Carol. And thank you for catching that, by the way. So we've already set our next meeting date. The only thing we need to do is discuss starting our site visits again. Again, we are in fact in a very strange time for lots of families where it's a holiday season. Where we're gonna be out on the 6th of January visiting the Pontiff site. I might suggest that we take another couple hours and go look at a couple other sites at least. I would suggest the last sites that were on our agenda, Carol, in the minutes of the August meeting. We were supposed to have gone out and met and done site visits on a couple of them.
Yeah.
Which ones were they? Edgewood Boggs and Mackey on Meadow Street were the ones that were missed due to a substantial weather event that day, which canceled it. I would suggest we start there. You know, we can go to meet Mr. Pontiff and his group at 8 o'clock, and then from there we can travel to Edgewood on Tremont Street, and then over to the Mackey site.
Okay.
Everybody good with those two sites, so we can get back on track a little bit here?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And that's January 6th?
January 6th, yeah, it's on Meadow Street.
It's on Meadow Street.
Yep.
Okay, so
Just to give you a little historical perspective, Mr. Chair, we've been, the committee formally, decided it's best that we do site visits monthly at the Mackey site on Meadow Street due to the controversy and the time frame we gave for them to finish that project. So,
Thank you. And I had heard that, and that's why I wanted to make sure that it was on the docket. I knew it was at that August 30th meeting. So that seems to be the most important one right now as it relates. That one, I believe, is slated to close sometime this coming spring, I believe.
if it's-
March 29th.
So the more we can do to get there and make sure that they're progressing as such, I think it'll make the resident neighbors very, very happy.
over there.
For this particular project, we better keep them on the monthly rotation.
Yep, I would agree with you. So Carol, if I might ask that you can reach out to those people
Yes.
and tell them that we'll be there starting probably 9 o'clock at the Edgewood site,
Yes.
and then 9:30, 9:45 at the Mackey site, so they can have representatives to meet us there as well.
Sure.
That is it for our agenda. Yep, I'm sorry, I was gonna miss another one, I apologize. Look how quick I am. So we got a request from the Carver Concerned Citizens to be heard on the topic of environmental impacts. You had requested 15 minutes. I'm gonna give you 5.
Okay.
15 minutes is an eternity after a very long meeting already. So, with that, Ms. Sheehan, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Again, Meg Sheehan from Community Land and Water Coalition, and we did just finish up our sand report. You can look at that on sandboardsoutheasternma.org, and we also have a couple of videos. So you can see the actual environmental impacts of the sand mining that is happening here in the region, and that includes impacts to the sole source aquifer, to archaeological sites, forests, and whatnot. So,
I'm just hiding her.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, you know, we obviously can't protect our environment from the impacts of sand mining unless we have a very robust committee that is objective and there's complete transparency and accountability. So with the new members, we'd like to know more about how these inspections are going to be happening, how the quarterly reports are going to be provided, and we think it would be much better if the public could just walk into the town hall and see the quarterly reports and see the fees that are being paid to make sure that the fees are being paid on time. We also think you should be asking the applicants, which apparently you haven't done in the past, to pay for that quarterly monitoring like it requires in the bylaw. So with that, we would also like to see you listing in your minutes all of the documents that you use in your meetings, which is a requirement. So tonight we noticed that you had out several spreadsheets. The open meeting law does require the minutes to list those documents, which has been an issue in the past, and we have been brought that up to you, but still the minutes do not list the items. So we'd like to see the lists of the 12 projects, all of the budget item here, the email from the town administrator. Those are all required to be listed in the minutes when you produce them for this meeting. And then as to those 12 permittees that you currently have, I believe that at least 3 of them are AD Makepeace projects. And I just wanted to ask Mr. Mason about his participation in some of these site visits and what's going on. So I understand that Mr. Mason works for AD Makepeace, and I just would like to know whether he's getting a paycheck from.
We are not gonna answer any of your questions tonight. I apologize for that. We're not gonna answer any of your questions. You asked for a time to speak, and that's what I'm doing.
All right, so I think it's safe to say that he works for AD Makepeace. I was looking at a recent newsletter from the UMass Cranberry Extension Service where Mr. Mason described himself as an employee of AD Makepeace. So we would like to know whether he'll be attending the site visits and whether he's looking over all of the inspection reports and whether those checks are coming in on time. We recently did a public records request that indicated that Makepeace had not, in fact, sent in the most recent quarterly monitoring reports. Those are late. There should be a violation for that, a violation notice for that. So, again, he should be recusing himself from any site visits or any oversight and enforcement of AD Makepeace, which, you know, as you know, is hauling at least 250 truckloads of sand and gravel from the Federal Street site alone. So that's probably, you know, 50 or 60% of what you're overseeing here. So you have a member who can't participate in any of that. And then, Mr. Haniel, I understand you yourself, your company has had an earth removal permit for at least 5 or 6 years. We'd like to have some accountability and have you report back to the public on the status of that permit and whether it's still ongoing and whether you're still taking sand and gravel out of that site.
What do you got?
She's got another 1.40.
Whether that permit is up to date and whether you've paid all your fees and your inspection reports have been submitted on time. Mr. Ward, where, you know, you can see this in our Sand Wars report, the documentation about how your son, Mr. Steve Ward, has had a permit from the Earth Removal Committee for its Rocky Meadow bogs over on the Purchase Street area there. We'd like to know whether that is still a current permit, whether all those fees are up to date, and whether all those quarterly reports are still being submitted to the committee. So that's been a very long-standing earth removal project, and would like to know whether you've been out inspecting at that site. So my final question relates to a letter that the committee sent to the Earth Removal Committee. The Earth Removal Committee sent to the town of Plymouth on February 14th, 2023, which I did a public records request for, but you have not provided that letter, and it relates to a vote that was taken by the committee, as the board knows, which authorized AD Makepeace to have a waiver for the removal.
Looks like that's the time.
It looks like we're up.
Let her
All
finish her
right,
sentence.
well, let me just finish my sentence. So if you
Make
could
it
find that letter in any minutes of the Earth Removal Committee that authorized Mr. Abronimo to send this letter to the town
Thank you,
to
Ms. Chair.
waive the earth removal permits for AD Makepeace.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Mr. Mason can check in on that too.
All right, I'll accept the motion to adjourn the meeting of the evening.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
The first motion.
What time is it, what time are you adjourning at?
It is 8:29. All those in favor of adjourning at 8:29? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. Thank you to the members of the audience. I do appreciate your time and patience with us tonight.
Mr. Hanula, I thought you were gonna give me time for questions about Mackey.
We'll do that next time after we've been there to see it.
Caught in a vice immediately. So, thank you, you did a good job.